Peace, King. How are you doing today?
I'm good, brother. How you doing?
Man, not too bad. I'm over here in Northeast Ohio. Feel like we had a little tornado or something go through here earlier.
I heard it's tornadoes all over the country.
What?
Yeah, I was talking to my man, one of my best friends. He live in Georgia. He told me it felt like they got hit by like three in a row. And he
Oh man,
telling me that he think that and he was telling me that he think that there's more coming.
man, they playing with that weather.
Hey, I don't know.
They play. They, they play too much.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see how it turn out.
No doubt. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome y'all to Conversations. I'm your host, Al Mecca. We got the legendary Daddy Yo from the world famous hip hop band, the original hip hop band, Stetsasonic. Man, welcome to Conversations, my
Thank,
brother.
thank you, sir. Thanks for having me.
Man, first of all, I want to start here. Tell me about your musical roots, like just growing up, your musical influences.
So I'm born in '61. So it's a lot of it's more than Motown. Let me just say this: it's more than Motown. Um,
Okay.
I always describe the story this way. When I grew up in my household, there was three types of music. Well, three sections. I don't know how to call it. Three sectors of music or whatever. There was my
Mhm.
mother's music, which I said everybody sounded like they were smoking a cigarette. Joe Tex, Brown, Wilson Pickett. Ah, da, 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 da. Everybody sounded like that. Hard voices. Then there was my sister and my brother's music, which was more Blue Magic, Black Ivory, that type of thing. Maybe a little Isleys, that type of thing.
Okay.
And then there was my music, which was a lot of people don't realize that the Jackson Five wasn't the only kid group.
Mm.
We had Little Jimmy and Little Jimmy Briscoe and the Beavers. We had Brighter Side of Darkness. I mean, it was just a lot. The Silvers. You know what I mean? Like it was a lot of kids. It was a lot of younger singers.
Right.
So that was the music that I grew up on. And then there was always the cross pollination of it all. I became a big James Brown fan by through my mom. I became a big Blue Magic fan through my sister and my brother. So
Mhm.
I mean that was it. And then my my neighbor in my neighborhood, being in a singing group was very popular. So we all was some part of some kind of singing group, some kind of way, form, or fashion.
Okay. So you actually did a little singing yourself
Yeah,
then.
that's what helped me when I became a producer because I know harmonies and all that from being a singer. You know,
Oh,
it's
okay.
New Birth, Wildflower, all those songs. So I know like a lot of times when I'm singing the songs I grew up on, I won't be singing the lead part because I was not the lead singer in my group.
Mhm.
Sing, and I won't be singing the common harmony note either. I will be singing that mid note because I was always second tenor. So I will always hit the mid note. So that helped me out, you know, when I started working on records like the Mary J. Blige records and doing records for Jeffrey Osborne and all that. That helped me out because I knew what I was hearing. It was a little different. I think I'm a little different than a lot of the hip hop producers that just grew up listening to hip hop. I actually saw a little blurb today. I didn't see the whole thing, but you know how you be going through your timeline, and I saw
Mhm.
a blurb today. Rick Rubin was talking to Anderson Cooper saying that he didn't know music.
Mm.
But I can understand that because I have a friend and she argues with me all the time about, I don't agree with her, but she argues with me all the time. She don't believe Puff is a producer. She just said, she can't ingest the fact that somebody's a producer that doesn't read music. And she
Yeah.
actually was on that fence for a long time until she saw the Kanye documentary on Netflix, and then she was just like, "Oh, why you ain't telling me about Kanye?" I'm like, "That's not my job to tell you about Kanye." You know what I'm saying? But a lot of hip hop producers didn't really grow up with R&B or doing. Let me say this. Let me say it this way: they didn't grow up doing R&B.
Right.
I sang it. So singing it, being in a group with a band, because it wasn't no such thing as being in a group and having a DJ back then. So we had a drummer, a guitar player, a bass player, you know what I mean? So being in a group with a band, I understood it, you know, once I was, you know, this is after I was rapping. Once I began to start producing for R&B artists, I understood a little more.
Okay. Then at what point did you start really taking the music serious? Like, you know, this is something I want to do.
It was when I heard of, it was ill because when I was doing the R&B stuff, because even a little later on in my life, after I had a job and all of that, my friends and them, Aaron and them, had started this doo-wop group, and I started rocking with them. But I still wasn't thinking about no records or nothing. I used to do that as more of a glorified hobby. It's like other guys probably play basketball or something like that. You know what I mean? Music was my hobby. If it wasn't collecting music, it was making music, it was all of that. So that was my hobby. It wasn't until hip hop that I decided to take it serious. And it wasn't until Kedar Massenberg, Kedar had a friend, and me and him were you know, we was together when we was like 15, 16. So Kedar had a friend, and he used to go to Erasmus Hall. I used to go to Thomas Jefferson. And he had a friend at Erasmus Hall that when I heard hip hop, I found out what it was. I heard rap. I used to hear, you know, cats in the park rapping. And I always wrote poetry anyway, and, you know, kind of a little bit of songwriting. And he said, hey, my friend does that. My friend does that. I knew his friend Reggie, that was the DJ. But I didn't know the kid Barshawn. It was a kid named Barshawn D. I didn't know the kid Barshawn D. He was like, yo, he does that, and I see you writing these raps. So would you write him? They had a party. I'll never forget. They had this Labor Day party, and he said, yo, will you write Barshawn a rap for Labor Day? And I said, okay. I wrote it. And then we went to the party, and he was horrible. Horrible. And he just, it's like he destroyed it, because the way I heard it in my head, see, I wasn't a rapper yet.
Right.
The way that I heard it in my head was like, oh man, when a real rapper gets a hold of this, he's gonna, you know, it's gonna be dope. And he was not dope.
They had no delivery at all, huh?
No, and that's when I decided to do it. Like I wasn't gonna. It's not like I was gonna do it. And I was comfortable listening to it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But once he did not do it well, I said I'll never. You know, I went on to write other stuff, but I was like, I'll never write another rhyme for other people. Like I'm not doing that for other people. I'm gonna do it for myself now. And that's when I started, you know, first with the rhyme that I had made for him, and then, you know, I started doing it for myself. You know what I'm saying? So that's when I got a little serious. But it wasn't until hip hop that I got serious about music. Interestingly enough.
Now, were you part of a group before Stetsasonic? Did you have a group?
No. Well, technically, yes. We put together a DJ crew called Mass Communication. Me and Delight and the brother Bouchon, he passed away, God bless the dead, and the brother Crown Supreme, that used to be our first, not really our first, really our second, third MC, because we always wanted to be 3 MCs. Me and Delight always wanted a group with 3 MCs. We didn't want 4. We didn't want 5. We wanted 3. And we started off with Asim, who was who later on became our road manager, but he just didn't really want to do it. Then it was me and D for a little while. We met Bouchon and we met Crown Supreme, because he was the backup DJ for Bouchon. But because we wanted 3 MCs, we asked Crown to rhyme. Crown said okay, and So yeah, it was mass communication for a while. We was a mass communication, the DJ crew. We used to do, like, you know, I guess you call them battle sound clashes, where we used to, you know, bring our equipment out against other people and compete, all of that kind of stuff. But we kind of fast tracked into being the Stetsasonic 3 MCs because we wanted to be a rap act or a rap group. So we kind of fast tracked into that.
So who were some of the other groups that were developing at that time, like just around your neighborhood?
Well, you know, it's real interesting, right? Shout out my man Ken Do. I always think about Ken Do and my man Lee, because they had this group called the Drummer Drunk MCs. And I always wonder if what they call that? Subliminally, that's what they call it, right? Subliminally, I end up putting this hip hop band together because of the Drummer Drunk MCs. Because the Drummer Drunk MCs, Ken doing them, they literally was the Drummer Drunk MCs. Like, they used to drink 40s, but everybody come out in the park. They used to come out with DJs. They used to come out in the park with a drummer and rap. But they used to be drunk. They literally used to be drunk. Like, it was ill what they used to do. But they was nice. We used to like them. God bless the dead, my man T-Funk, who you know from the New York City Bad Boys, the Inspector Gadget record.
Yeah.
T-Funk was out there. Fat Boys was out there, but Mark and them didn't come out in the park too much. Like, they didn't really get popular till after the contest. And then there was a whole slew of others that I don't remember, like, everybody that used to come out, but it was a lot of people in East New York and Brownsville that used to come out. And then we used to travel also around Brooklyn, you know what I'm saying, like, and see other people. So there was a whole bunch of people. I don't remember. What's interesting is every now and again somebody will come up to me and remind me that they was in one of those contests, whatever.
Wow, that's dope. That's dope. So now, at what point did you and your brothers be like, all right, we're about to do this hip hop band? And where did the name Stetsasonic even come from?
Well, the name Stetsasonic comes from, so I'm rapping. I was rapping, and there was some cats on my block that used to hustle on the corner, and they actually used to hustle with Zab Judah father. Father, Joel was one of the first big hustlers, and they used to hustle for Yoel, and they was on the corner. That's the first time I ever seen Hebrew Israelites too, because that was them. And I had a name. My name was Dr. On, and I used to rap and try to rap and all of that. But I used to sound like those dudes in the Bronx, because I didn't know no other way to sound.
Right.
You know, Mel, Raheem, Lil Rodney C, all them guys was my heroes. You know, from the tapes that used to float from uptown. I used to hear some of the Queens tapes too, but I ain't really want to sound like Father Tahim and them Disco Twin dudes. But the guys uptown, I used to love the way they used to sound. So I used to rhyme. My name was Dr. On, but I used to sound a little like them. You know what I mean? Because almost everybody sounded like them. A couple of people, I'm not saying people didn't have their own voices, but I'm just talking about rhyme style wise. Like, it wasn't like it was like now, like there's a million rhyme styles. There wasn't like that. So these guys was on the corner, and I remember one time they called me over because I used to always have a box. And I had a box. I was walking down the block. I was playing my music, and they asked me to come over. I came over, and they asked me what my rap name was, and I told them Dr. On, and they was like, man, fuck that. That's corny. Your name gonna be Daddy-O. And then they told me how to rhyme my name and everything, and they gave me this style called the gangster rock. And they were Stetson brothers. That's I'm going into answering your question. So they were called the Stetson brothers. Now, the interesting part about them was the Stetson brothers originated in Long Island. And the interesting part about them was, even to this day, Melly Mel's my favorite MC. Flashing Them was my favorite group. You know what I'm saying? It was like, I love Flashing Them. And they asked me, who's your favorite group? And I was like flashing them. And they was like, fuck that, man. Stetson Brothers smashed flashing them. I was like, nobody ever beat flashing them. Are you kidding me? And they was like, yo, I wish I had the tape. I wish I had the tape. I wish I had the tape. And then one day they brought me the tape. I'm mad because I lost the tape in storage years ago. But they brought me the tape, and these niggas rip Melon them a new asshole with that same style that you hear Stetsasonic do on records with the gangster rock. Fuck them up. Because the whole thing is, the thing with the gangster rock is we rap to a slow. You got to remember, in the beginning of hip-hop was almost Afro-Cuban. Right? Beats, like Apache was the main break beat. You know, later on down the line with routines and Peace the President and some of those slower beats became popular, but most of the beats, because of what we used to play, you gotta realize we coming out of disco.
Right. Yeah, the whole disco.
That's why even on old school tapes you'll hear people go, we're rocking to this disco beat, because we coming out of disco. So a lot of joints was up tempo, the same speed as Rob Bass's It Takes Two.
Right.
A whole bunch of those records was fast. So the key to the Stetson Brothers is they never rap to nothing fast. And they taught me how to rap to slow beats. Literally, as an MC, a lot of people don't know this. I tell this to people all the time. Most Barry White records on 45 are instrumental on the B side. Most.
Okay.
So I'm gonna love you a little bit more. The do 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 doom 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 doom. I used to walk the neighborhood with when I was looking for block parties with that 45 with a yellow disc, right? That way it was clear, nobody would mess it up. It was a 45. I used to tell the DJ, play the B-side because it was instrumental, put it on 33, that same record on 33, and step away from the turntables. So it used to be boom, 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 and I used to just kill it on the Daddy-O style, let you know. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so that happened. We started doing contests and stuff. In the beginning, we was just using the name Stetson Brothers because they told me I could have it.
Okay.
Want to rap? I invited them to come along because I got better than them, but in the beginning, they was way better than me. The guys that taught me, but they was hustling. They was getting money, so they was like, "Nah, man, y'all go ahead, man. We passing the torch." So the Light said he don't want to be Stetson Brothers because somebody will think it's them, but he didn't want to lose the Stetson. So he came up with the name Stetsasonic. And I said, what that mean? And he said, Stetson means style and Sonic means sound. I said, I'm with it.
Yes, yes.
In the beginning, that's what we were. We was the Stetsasonic. You know, before we was just Stetsasonic, we was the Stetsasonic 3 MCs for a long time.
Okay. Yeah, I got it. Yeah. So when did you guys start finally hitting the studio to actually get some recording done?
So we was a stage group. We never thought about making records. And I also say this to people historically. In the very beginning, making records was whack to everybody. And let me tell you why. The Run DMC made a record called, I think it's called Here We Go, Live at the Funhouse. And Run has a line on that record that says, now if you say you heard my rhyme, we gonna have to fight because I just made the motherfucker up last night. That was the motto. You had to come in the park with something new every night. When cats repeated rhymes, you was whack. If you went and you was in Brownsville and you was in Cephalo Park and you said a rhyme tonight, and then you went to East New York to the Pink Houses and said that same rhyme like Saturday night, niggas would call you whack. They would say you that rhyme over there in Cyprus or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So you had to come with something fresh and new every time. So in the very beginning, making records was whack because the same thing would be playing all the time. We never saw ourselves the way R&B singers saw themselves. We were rapping. We did something different. And don't let nobody fool you. Wasn't nobody thinking about being rich because it wasn't even about that. You know what I'm saying? It was just about all of the stuff that we were doing. So we was a stage group, which is why we ended up being such a great performance act. So in the beginning, all it was about to us was creating the right routines to get on stage and murder everything moving. And the thing, like Stetsasonic is still very challenging when it comes to that stage thing, man.
And I think that's really the beauty of hip hop, because like a lot of guys don't know how to perform.
It's true, especially now. Especially now. They just don't get it. Like they don't get it. Like I always tell people, no disrespect to nobody, but LL is the model. Go back and just watch LL and you could get what this is. Between LL and Houdini, you can understand what to do. And I'm saying a lot of people had dope shows. Dougie Fresh had one of the greatest shows. Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince was incredible on stage. You know, a lot of people were good. But watch LL and Houdini, you can get the whole idea. The breath control, the skits, like just all of that, right? So we was a stage group. We was a stage group, but we was a stage group with this competitive edge, so we just wanted to keep entering these contests. We're one of the few groups. It's interesting that us and the Fat Boys are from East New York, and both of us got our deals through contests. We didn't do nothing like that. They signed us because we won a contest. You know what I'm saying? We got signed to Tommy Boy because we won a contest. Fat Boys won the Tin Pan Apple contest and got signed. So that was what I don't know the word. It started with a P, but I can't think of it. But that's what put us in the studio.
Kind of propelled you to go in that direction.
That's what put us in the studio, because now we had to go in the studio. Now we had to make records because now we got a record deal. You understand? It wasn't like we got a lot of people got record deals. They made demos. They went to record companies. They let the record company hear the demo and they got a deal. That wasn't it with Stet. Stet got signed without a demo.
True. So what was the first song you guys recorded?
It was called Stetsasonic, and it turned into Just Say Stet. It was called Stetsasonic. Well, the first song we ever recorded, I put it on my Instagram a couple of, I don't know how long, because I'm old, so I can't. But a few months ago, Throwback Thursdays, I try to make those really Stet. And it was called We're New. That was the first song we ever recorded. It was me, Crown, and Delight, and we did a record called We're New. And we did We're New in my house. Overdubbing tapes with vinyl, and to Frankfurt Wayne, and got an acetate plate made. That was that was the first time. But the first song, Stetsasonic, the Stetsasonic recorded, was called Stetsasonic. It was a routine. We recorded Stetsasonic, which became Just Say Stet, and we recorded the B-side to the first single, Just Say Stet, called Rock de la Stet. We recorded it at Richie Kessler's place, which is now, he's huge. He got Platinum Studios in New York, but at that time, he had a little studio uptown, I think on 99th and Broadway, called Little Bighorn. It was a little 12-track studio. He had that 12-track Akai. And we went in there and recorded it. And then once we got signed, because we was messing around with it, but that's not what got us signed. once we got signed, Tommy was like, "Do you have anything you recorded?" And we let him hear that, and he was like, "Where's the hook?" And we was like, "Hook? What do you mean the hook?" Because I mean, if you listen to "Rapping and Rocking the House" by Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five, or what's the other one, the Funky Four made? Like, if you listen to all those records, there was never a hook. There's no hook on Rapper's Delight. There was no, there were hooks. Like, you know what I mean? So he was like, "Hook? What do you mean? Like a chorus?" And he was like, "Yeah." And he was like, "We don't be thinking about no chorus." And he said, "That thing Daddy-O says in his rhyme, if you can't say it all, just say stet. That could be a hook." And that's what Just Say Stet became the hook. And then the interesting thing about Rock De La Stet is that we didn't know nothing about the studio, so we thought mastering and the master was just, we recorded it. We went up to Canal Street and got a good metal tape. Remember, you had cassette tape?
Yeah.
We put it all on a metal tape thinking that was the final. And we didn't know about recording to 2-track and bouncing it down. We didn't know nothing about mixing or nothing. And we did Rock De La Stet. So Just Say Stet, we went back into a 24-track studio and recorded it. Came out great. Rock De La Stet, we tried to re-record it. It was horrible. Just a disaster. We trashed it. And then I learned an important lesson that really serves me well today. Like, probably serves me well more. It probably serves me better in 2023 than it ever did, except for with Top Billing, because it helped me out when I produced Top Billing. Herbie, Herb Powers, the mastering engineer, told me, "Daddy-O, I could master that off a cassette." And I said, "What?" And he said, "Yeah." And so Rock De La Stet, it's on the On Fire album. It's on the first single. That's a cassette recording.
What?
Once I learned that, Top Billing is a 4-track recording. Because once we finished Top Billing, Milk and Nat looked at me and said, "We're going to go take this in the big studio?" I said, "Hell no. Herbie going to master this the way it sounds." And that's where the rubber meets the road with me with sound. Like, I'm a little different as a producer. I'm probably more Quincy than I am Dr. Dre or Marley.
Got you.
It's about ears to me. I don't care about material. And then messing around with Steve Ett, God bless the dead, and John King at Chung King, they really was like, because I never forget one time I was recording with Steve Ett, and the needles are hitting the red.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, "It's hitting the red." And he's like, "Daddy-O, close your eyes." And I'm like, "What?" He said, "Man, can you stop looking at the meters and close your eyes? If it's not distorting in your ears, fuck what the meters say, man." You know what I'm saying? And I started dealing with sound like that. You know what I mean? And if I got a vibe on a record, I got a vibe on a record. And if you recorded the record at home in your bedroom and it's a vibe, I'm going to do my best to boost it. I'm working with a producer right now. He's my man. He's one of the guys that helped me learn how to produce, because he used to always have equipment at home in East New York. His name is Joe Vaughn. He's probably one of the biggest. He created Deep House. Like, he really is the creator of Deep House. And I got a record with a young lady named Miranda Wright that I had did, because I'm working on this duets album with all girls, and it's kind of clubby, and I want him to chop it up. And I gave him the 2-track today, and I know it's gonna come back crazy, because Joe Vaughn has the same thing. Like, we don't really care, bro. Like, sometimes people go, "Oh, give me the stems. I'm gonna need the stems. We will work with what we got." You know what I'm saying? And so yeah, it's just sonically, it's that. I know that's on the tangent, but yeah, that we started recording once we got the record deal, and then from then on we was in studios and learning how to use it.
I remember the first time I heard Ghost Stetsa, it just blew my mind, because I never heard a song start like that.
Well,
ever.
Stetsa is probably my, I don't know, between Go Stetsa and Top Billing, those are, they neck and neck for the best mistake I ever made.
Oh, you okay? Give it to me. Give it to me.
Go Stetsa was on the Linn drum, and you could tell by the rhyme pattern on that record, we used that James Brown, I can't remember the break, but that's the one that Morgan. So funky, and that boom, bat,
Okay.
boom, bat, boom, bat, boom, boom, bat, boom, boom, bat, boom, bat, boom, bat, boom, boom, bat, boom, boom. Now take a sec to check the pedigree of the band. That's what we rhyme to. Now, my man Nothar, because that's not Bobby playing on Go Stetsa. That's my man Nothar. My man Nothar, we brought him in because me and Delight wanted drum rolls and hits and cymbals on the Linn drum, but we couldn't do it with the Linn drum, so we said we're gonna bring a drummer in to do it. All right. We used to record at this studio on 37th Street in New York called Calliope. And Calliope had an ill way, and sometimes me and Bobby still do it. They had an ill way of recording drums. A stereo setup on the drum set, and then around the corner they would put a mic in the bathroom for the ambience. So recording drums with only 3 mics. Not I see my man Al Bolson just came on. We did Psychedelic Sally the same way because Al's a dope drummer, and I did the same exact thing in my studio in Brooklyn with Al. We mic'd him, and then I had a ambience. I did the same thing. But yeah. So what happened is we recorded these drums, and all the live drums was supposed to be on Go Stetsa was accents. We had an engineer we was working with all the time. We raised, if you look up Bob Power, who went on to work with Erykah Badu and De La and all that, we raised Bob Power. We taught him how to do hip hop. But anyway, that's a whole nother story. Power wasn't in that day, so we had to have a replacement engineer. Here comes Bob Coulter, and Coulter had no idea, what the tracks were or nothing. So now you got the rappers, right? It's a 24 track. You got the rappers rapping. You got, and it's only 3 tracks because at that time we wasn't doing no background vocals and no ad libs and all of that.
Right.
Got a bunch of the Linn drum tracks. You know what I'm saying? A bunch of the Linn drum tracks, and then those 3 live drum tracks. Coulter comes in the studio, pushes up the rappers and just the live drums. And I said, oh, shit, that's the record. Erase all that electronic drums. He said, I said, Delight, do you hear this shit? He said, D, I hear it. And it was bananas.
Crazy.
It was like, yo, the way we sounded up against them live, we was like, yo. And so that became part of what we were doing. Bobby was always our friend. We used to get gigs at the Latin Quarter in New York like once every 3 weeks. Stetsasonic was always at the Latin Quarter. Us and BDP played the Latin Quarter more than anybody else. Yeah, a lot of people came in there, kidding, playing them. They didn't get the gigs like us. We used to always be at the Latin.
That's where I first seen y'all at the LQ, because I used to live in Stamford, Connecticut.
Okay. So what happened? One day Bobby says, yo, them live drums y'all do, why don't you let me play drums while y'all perform? Now, you know how the LQ used to be. And I said, where you put the drums? He said, I'll put them right down here on the dance floor. And we did Go Stetsa live at the Latin Quarter, and it went off so damn well. I looked at Delight. I said, yo, Bobby's got to be in the group, man. But the whole idea of the hip hop band wasn't like it wasn't no aha moment. The reason we called ourselves a band from the beginning, because you hear that on all our records, is because when we used to make records, we had these producers. So we had Prince Paul and DBC that had all this equipment. Most of the equipment was ours.
Mm.
DB had stuff, Paul had stuff. And so we used to question, how are we going to perform these songs? And the guys was like, we just going to have to take everything on stage. And that's how we became a hip hop band, by just bringing all our equipment on stage, because that's the only way we could duplicate the sound. It wasn't no Serato back then, none of that. So it was no the world to bring your music with you. You know, I remember Run DMC was one of the few groups. There was a company called Europa Disc, and they used to Run DM Jam Master Jay, God bless the dead, used to have vinyl printed up. But if you listen, if you go back to records like a lot of the records on Profile, a lot of the records on Tommy Boy, even Def Jam, you hear what is industry known as TV tracks on the B-sides, because that's the way cats used to perform their records. They knew. They said when you press up the record with the background vocals on it, or the chorus on it without the vocals. So a lot of times, some of those records that came out, your B-side was not a full instrumental. It was an instrumental with a chorus, because that's what they used to use, as they knew they was going to use it as a show, for the show. Right. You understand? Us, we weren't comfortable with that. We didn't care about that. We wanted to duplicate the sound live. And maybe that comes from my R&B background, you know, us being a little older cats, you know what I'm saying? Like that kind of situation. Maybe it comes from that. But, and then Bobby being the drummer as well. Later on, Bobby being the drummer. But yeah, so we became a hip hop band, not kind of almost out of necessity, because we were a performance band. We knew how we wanted to sound on stage, and we knew it's no way that we was going to be able to duplicate that, except for take the take all the equipment on stage.
Wow, that's amazing. Now, in your production history, like as you really start doing production, what's been like one of your most favorite projects that you worked on?
I got a few, but I have two that stand out. One is Jeffrey Osborne. I wrote and produced a record for Jeffrey Osborne. I remember crying. Because, so this is how the record happened. I wrote it for Aretha. I took it to Clive Davis. 2 days later, Clive hit me up and said, Daddy, I got good news and bad news. What you want to hear first? I said, give me the bad news. He said, I can't put this song on Aretha. I'm like, so what could be the good news now? You know, right. But I want to put it on Jeffrey. I said, okay. So this man, first of all, you want to talk about, there's a studio terminology people call, they say one take Jake, right? When people go in and they do it in one take. Not only did he do it in one take, but just working with him, I never forget, we was recording at Green Street in Manhattan, and he said, where's your mics? He asked Chris, I forget Chris's last name, the young engineer we used to work with. And he asked Chris, he said, where's your mics? And Chris brought out all the mics. He said, I want you to set all the mics up. And they set up all the mic, and he would do a note in the mic and say, I'll blow the diaphragm in that one. That's too thin. Blah, blah, blah. And then he found the one that he settled for. Killed it. He sang my song in one take. He came back and did another take on the bridge, but that was it. And it was just the most amazing thing, because it was a record. When you write and produce and write all the music and all the lyrics, you remember the hell out of a song.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I remember being in the house, because, by that time I had a studio in my crib. I remember being in the house, writing that song, thinking of that song, blah, 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 blah. And now Jeffrey Osborne is singing my song. I'm like, this is unreal.
And especially, and I don't think he gets enough credit. Like when people
when people mention the best, they never mention him. He'll sing most people in the damn hole.
Yeah.
I mean, it's he's bananas. Like he's ridiculous vocally. And then another one stands out, which is not too long ago. Chuck D called me and told me, Daddy-O, we don't do enough records with our legends over 60. And the reason he said that is because a few years prior to him calling me, him and Mavis Staples of the Staples Singers won a Grammy with a song they had did. And so he came up with this idea of Gene Barge, who he back in the day used to go by Daddy G, producer. There's an L story with this, and I'll tell you it. He used to go by Daddy G. Gene Barge is like 94 right now. When we did the record, he was 90. And Gary U.S. Bonds got together in 1961 and had a #1 hit with a record called Quarter to Three. And Gene Barge had did the record instrumentally because he's a sax player. He said Gary ran up on him, I guess it was a club, and said, man, I wrote something to your thing, man. And they went in and they did this record Quarter to Three, and it blew. And we went in and we did a remake to it. And Chuck and I are on the record. And I post that a few times on my Throwback Thursday. Man, working with this man, I couldn't even get my head wrapped around how dope he was. And I remember working with him, and the band came in, and so he's arranging the horns and everything. And I remember him looking at the drummer and telling the drummer, man, you corny, man. Sit this one out. And literally had the whole band playing, the background singers are singing, and he did not let this man play.
Wow.
I watched him, the way he worked the horn players, the way he worked the harmony with the guys, the way he worked the harmony with the girl. And I'm co-producing with him, like I'm pulling the whole thing together. But I'm like, this is amazing. Now, interestingly enough, we in there, we kicking it, talking. So we in there, a lot of times when you with older folks, you love to have those conversations about rap with them. So right. I told him the first time I ever heard something that I would consider rap, and for years I was saying it was the first rap record, and now there's some debate, T.L. Cross and all them talk about, but was Pig Meat Markham's Here Come the Judge.
Okay.
Hear ye the quarter swing. I'm just about ready to do that thing. I don't want no tears. I don't want no lies. Further all, I don't want no alibis. This judge is hip, and that ain't all. He'll give you time if you know what I'm saying? And I grew up with that record in my house. Gene Barge produced the damn record. I said, what? Not only did he tell me that, he said, Daddy-O, Pig Meat was the wackest of them all. He said, man, everybody was rapping around then in Chicago. He said, I used to have a guy that used to come in, he used to tap and rap, Daddy-O. Tap dance and rap. And he is the first producer of Minnie Riperton.
Minnie.
Come the Judge, there's a woman on Here Come the Judge, and well, I'll take 2 cans of beer, please. He said, that's Minnie on that song. It was just great conversation. But those 2 sessions really stand out to me. One other stands out to me, which is when we were doing the Love No Limit remix for Mary J. Blige. The one where I used the Keep Rising to the Top loop. We in the studio and we're doing it. At first, Puff had gave me the 2-track for it, and I lined it up with what I was doing musically. But he told me we probably need to just get her to sing it again, because key-wise, we could do the same thing, but let's just let us change the octave. And I said, okay, cool. But at this time, Mary is dating KC, from Jodeci.
Right.
A lot of people don't know what's the boy's name? Dave Tolliver? What's the boy's name? I don't think it's Dave Tolliver. Dave Tolliver is the guy from Men Network.
Right.
What's the other boy name? Dave Hollister.
Dave Hollister. Okay.
A lot of people don't know that's Casey's cousin.
Oh, never knew that.
Is me and Puff in there. Puff decides Mary's gonna re-sing it. She goes in there and sing it. We loving it. On the boom, 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 boom. We loving what we got. We rocking. We slapping each other five. We working on it. And she's going, she's doing this, loving you every day. She's doing that. Don't you look no more. And these two niggas is in the back of me and Puff singing. Said, I'm loving you, and going to church with it. And so one of the things I love about working with Puff, and even working with Russell and them back in the day, like, and I learned this as a producer, I taught it to Prince Paul. If it works, we throwing it in there. We don't care.
Right.
Puff looks at them and said, go in the booth. That chorus to that love, that remix of Love No Limit is so crazy. And it was just dope because, like for me, I love the planned stuff, but the spontaneous things that can happen in the studio, those are the moments that really, really stick out.
When it's just organic,
Stuff happened just because it happened. You know what I'm saying? Like, not because you planned it to happen, but just because everybody vibing and we could kind of figure that out. And so, yeah, so those moments always stick out to me. I mean, there's a whole lot of others. Working with Third World was incredible because most of the people don't know, most of the guys in Third World are classically trained, like Cat and all.
Okay.
I'm in Third World. I'm in the studio with Third World, and in between songs, these niggas is playing classical. I'm like, what is going on? Like, they nice like that.
Right.
And so, like, that was crazy fun. And then to know you working with a reggae group, but to know that they were so musical and they understood notes and they understood harmony. It was just, a lot of people don't realize how smart some of these musicians are, or maybe some of these singers are, because you only hear the end result of the music,
right? And
so you would never know how dope they are unless you're in the studio with them. You know what I mean? And so so I those kind of moments, man, it's always amazing to me.
Man, that sounds like a beautiful journey. We getting ready to hit the 1 hour mark, but Daddy-O, I personally want to thank you for your contributions to hip hop, man.
Oh, no doubt, man. I mean, and we still doing it. Sometime this year, hopefully earlier than later, we'll be finished this Stet album.
And we'll have to bring you back, man. Can I get you back?
No, we will. I mean, we probably just need, we probably need to do the guys, man, like all of us. It'll be dope. You know what I'm saying?
There it is.
I'll be with the guy. We in a few, we're gonna be together a lot because we got some things planned. We got to finish the album. We're doing some touring this year as well. So, but yeah, we we working on this. We're close, man. We real close. But we're not finished. So I'm just trying to finish the Stet album, and I'm really proud of where it's at, because these guys is just, my guys are amazing. I've been doing new records since 2016, right. And in the beginning they didn't really take the plunge, but when they did step in, they stepped in like G's, and this thing is turning out lovely. So I'm real happy about the progress of that. And, just working on it. I'm doing the stop. We calling Self-Destruction 2 Stop Self-Destruction. Doing Stop Self-Destruction. So that's working out. You're going to start hearing a lot about that, fairly soon, and some of the stuff that we got coming with that. So, I'm working this year, man. I'm working.
That's what's up. So I'll just tap back in with you a few months from now.
Absolutely.
We try to get the fellas on, you know, get everybody together and make it happen. 'Cause like I said, I'm honored, man, for your contribution. I have been a big fan. Like I said, first time I seen y'all was at the LQ.
Wow.
Blew my mind.
Yeah. So yeah, you know how we get down.
No doubt. All right, my brother. Once again, thank you so much for joining me on Conversations. We got the legendary Daddy O, world famous original hip hop band Stetsasonic. You have a good evening, my brother.
All right, man. You too, man. Peace.
Thank you. Peace.